How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to another video. So in a recent video, you may have seen that I sold my 2023 individual British Racing Green BMW G80 M3 Comp X-Drive. That's a mouthful, I know. So, and if you guys have been following the channel and following me in general, then you'll know that I always have some sort of replacement car. I also did introduce you guys to the new daily driver car, which is my 2018 BMW F30 340i. So that will be taking daily duty. But if you watched that video, I did mention that there would be another car coming out of the channel that would be my weekend, my fun car. And with the natural BMW progression, when you go from BMW, typically the next step is a 911 or some sort of Porsche. So I'm going to introduce you guys to my new Porsche 911 992 Carrera S. Let's show you guys what we got.
नेपालको खतरा माट Ey yo ey Lexai motherfucker म यो भाइ नेपालको खतरा चित्त नबुझे मुजी आइजन फन सेक्युरिटी चाहिँदैन नेपाल सरकार मुजी त मलाई दे एउटा गन चित्त नबुझेको झारेलाई खेदाउँदै हान्छु म टाकुमा गन भाइ म खतरा देखेपछि भाग you can run म यो भाइ नेपालको खतरा चित्त नबुझे मुजी आइजन फन सेक्युरिटी चाहिँदैन नेपाल सरकार मुजी त मलाई दे एउटा गन चित्त नबुझेको झारेलाई खेदाउँदै हान्छु म टाकुमा गन भाइ म खतरा देखेपछि भाग you can run मेरो बालो आयो टेबल टर्न I'm having fun म चिन्दिन तलाई त कागज वन बोकेर गन हान्न मन छ तेरो टाउकोमा सट नदे एडभाइस तैसँग राख सिक्ने बाटोलाई फक मलाई म यो भाइ नेपालको कथा चित्त नबुझे
Alright guys, unfortunately the weather is terrible here and this car was just delivered yesterday, so not the most ideal time to be getting a rear-wheel drive Porsche, but this is my 992 Carrera S in the beautiful chalk exterior with black interior. Now this has been a dream car of mine. I've really wanted a 911 for a very long time. It's obviously the natural progression from a BMW. After having BMWs for the last 15 years of my life, I'm really excited to start a new project and start a new brand. So I do apologize for the weather here, but wanted to introduce you guys to the new car on the channel. भाइ म खतरा देखेपछि भाग you can run म यो भाइ नेपालको खतरा चित्त नबुझे मुजी आइजन फन सेक्युरिटी चाहिँदैन नेपाल सरकार मुजी त मलाई दे एउटा गन चित्त नबुझेको झारेलाई खेदाउँदै हान्छु म टाकुमा गन भाइ म खतरा देखेपछि भाग you can run you can run देखेपछि भाग देखेपछि भाग you can run देखेपछि भाग Yo. Hello. Matt. Bow. So please give a warm welcome to the 992 911, which I finally have in my garage. I'm so stoked for this project, guys. And what's great about this is I could actually utilize some of my sponsorships and partnerships that I have from the BMW days. So super excited to get my hands on this thing. Obviously, as you guys could probably tell with the weather out here, I can't drive this car right now. So unfortunately, this is going to sit here in the garage, probably on the lift. So hopefully the snow melts quicker and sooner than later. So before I go back in the house and talk about what options are on this car, because I know a lot of Porsche guys are into you know, what the specs are and things like that. I do want to mention that the whole car does have paint protective film already on it, so that is a huge plus. People have asked me if this thing is lowered, and it's not. It's actually on factory PASM, and then the only other mods other than PPF are the clear reflectors here, the side markers, as well as there is a little bit of light smoke on the rear tail light, the lower reflectors down here, and the third brake light here, which probably needs to be replaced because it's kind of bubbling and stuff. But this is not a brand new car, if you guys couldn't tell, but very new to me and super low miles. So that is ideal for buying a 911. All right, guys, so moving back here into the house, since it's 20 degrees outside, wanted to talk about what the spec was. I've got a digital version of what came on the car in terms of the Monroney label, which I have in the car actually. But total price, well, I guess so. This is a 2020 911 Carrera S 992. This is a 3-liter twin turbo 6. Makes 443 horsepower and 390 foot-pounds of torque, which we all know I'm going to change and modify a little bit. But the suggested manufactured retail price, starting price before options, is $113,300. So here are the options. We have chalk paint color, which was $32.70. Leather in black with chalk stitching was $38.30. Power steering, deletion of model designation, zero cost option. Power steering plus was $280. Wheels painted in satin black was $12.90. Steering wheel that's heated is $280. The electric slide tilt sunroof and glass. I really wanted a glass sunroof because I think it just looks so much better. I'm typically not a sunroof guy, I'll be honest with you guys. I prefer a carbon roof, but finding a Porsche with a carbon roof is extremely hard. And I don't like the slick top options because the windshield, front and rear windshields are so big that when you have the sunroof delete and it's just slick top and paint matched, it just throws off the whole top of the car to me. Like there's just giant pieces of glass and there's a big piece of paint right in the middle of it. I don't like it. So I wanted a car that has the sunroof in glass. That was a $2,000 option. Seat ventilation, it also does have heated seats, obviously. Seat ventilation was $840. It does have comfort access, $550. Lane change assist, $1,060. Porsche Dynamic Light System Plus, which is PDLS Plus, is $1,270. Bose surround system, $1,600. Seatbelts in chalk was $540. Porsche logo painted in a high gloss black on the rear, which looks super clean to me, $300. Power sports seats, 14-way with memory package, $2,330. Also comes with a storage package, free of charge. Ornamental Porsche crest, free of charge. It also does have a sport package, which gives you the sports chrono. On the dash, does give you the sport exhaust system with the tailpipes optioned in black, and PASM, which I mentioned earlier, which is the Porsche sport suspension, which lowers the car 10 millimeters. That whole sport package option was $54.60. So grand total just under $140,000 retail. So it was $139,550, and it's got pretty much every single option that I wanted on this car. So finding a used car is extremely difficult with the right specs, and especially with a Porsche, with a 911, I feel like most older guys end up speccing these cars in white, black, or silver, or gray, or something like that. And typically my track record is, white, blue, and gray. So the BRG was, a very different car for me, which I totally loved. But with the Porsche, I was interested in only a couple of colors. I was interested in chalk, which is what I ended up getting. Also interested in gentian blue, shark blue, and then if I could find a paint to sample that wasn't some stupid color, I would have went with one of those options as well. But extremely hard to find the right car with the right specs and the right miles and the right price point. And this car checks every single box. The only other thing that I wish it would have had maybe was the 360 surround cameras, which was not optioned, but it does obviously have, you know, parking sensors in front and rear, as well as a rear camera. But the 360 sensor, or the 360 cameras, allow you to see the entire car, you know, from a 3D view above and things like that. So that's one thing I wish it did have, and I wish it had front axle lift, only for the fact that this car is going to be sitting on a lift, you know, quite a lot. So being able to pull up and down the lift easily, the front axle lift would have been really a nice thing to have. But at the same time, that's just another thing that could break. And actually, it's really hard to find a car that does have front axle lift. Most guys don't actually option that. It is like a $4,000 or $5,000 option that, you know, I'm used to driving lowered cars. I've done it my entire life, basically. So I don't need to have that option. So that's why I didn't really care. Purposely went with this particular car because, you know, when I buy cars, especially used on the used market, I like to buy cars based on the seller. And so this was a private sale. The dude was super legit, no games, very simple and easy to work with, great communication, got me all the pictures and everything that I was asking for, all the specs. I've got, you know, the Monroney label, a copy of it. I've got, you know, the owner's manual and all the maintenance records and things like that. And he didn't own it for very long. So yeah, beautiful car. I really wish the weather was better, but I really wanted to introduce you guys to this car on the channel before we start doing, you know, my typical modifications, which I'm hoping will be a lot slower than my typical. You know, a lot of my previous builds have been super fast, and then I get through the car super quickly and I end up getting rid of it. So I'm hoping that this car will stay here in the garage and stay here on the channel for a while, especially considering that any other car that I would want to move from the 992 would be exponentially more expensive. I'm talking Turbo S, GT3, things like that. So you may also be asking yourself why I didn't consider an older style GT3, or what, you know, drawed me to the 992. So I had considered multiple cars. Just to rattle these off real quick, you know, I was considering a 718 GT4 with a manual transmission. I was considering a 991.1 Turbo S. I was considering a 991.2 Carrera S, 4S, or a GTS. And I was also considering the 992 Carrera S, 4S, and then a 991.1 GT3. I know that was a huge mouthful of different things. So if you're not a Porsche person, these, you know, designations may not make any sense to you. But ultimately, I decided to go with the 992 Carrera S because it is the most modern day version of everything that I just listed. Coming from the G80 M3, it makes the most sense in terms of, you know, technology and power, things like that. If I could have, you know, for the same price, I could have gotten myself into, you know, a 991.1 GT3 with a little bit more miles, but that was going to be a 2014 model, which is 10 years old, 11 years old at this point, and I just didn't want a car that was that old. I know that the GT3 is super iconic. The sounds are amazing. I've driven several of them before in the past. They are fantastic cars. That was super high on my list, but finding one that was in the right price range that wasn't all beat up, you know, again, these cars are 10, 11 years old at this point. So finding one that was, you know, full body PPF and things that were taken care of, and ideally, you know, with a G motor, because if you guys weren't aware, the .1 GT3s initially came with an E motor in the early generation. Then they went to an F motor because of lifter problems, and then the F motor also had lifter problems. And then they eventually came out with the G motor. So finding a car, you know, a .1 GT3 that already had that G motor replacement from Porsche under warranty was pretty hard to find. There were only like 3 or 4, and all of them were white. So I didn't really want to do another white car, especially now that I've got the 340 out here, which is Alpine white. I didn't want to have 2 white cars. And there just weren't that great of options out there that I had found. The other one, I was really torn. I really would have considered a 991.2 GTS in a manual. I actually found one that was chalk, black interior, yellow accents, super low miles. It was actually more expensive than this one. And I think that would have been a really good car to purchase for resale. But again, I got the newer tech in this car. The older generation GTS is the same as the newer generation S, 4S. So I have the same power level as the older GTS with the newer technology. So And not to mention, I really love the 992 body. The rear end is just so wide, whereas the older generation, you had to get a GTS in order to get that wider rear body. Otherwise, it was more of a narrow body. So that's one other consideration I had. So that kind of explains why I went with the 992. I'm super excited for this car. Again, I'm super excited to utilize some of my partnerships that I've had in the past, Keys Motorsports being one of those big ones, because if you weren't aware, Keys is now getting into the Porsche market. And so by me buying this car, I'm actually going to be able to utilize that sponsorship and that partnership with Brian and the team over at Keys Motorsports. So I'm super excited to start working with them again on actually both cars, I guess. But yeah, this car has just been an ultimate dream of mine. A 911 has always been the goal for me. A couple years ago, if you asked me, the goal was a GT3. That still is my goal at some point in time, but I need to have progression of cars in order to get there, both financially and just I want to be able to experience some of these other models before I get into those, supercar almost level type vehicles like a Turbo S or a GT3. Those two are definitely bucket list cars for me. So starting here at the 992 Carrera S is going to be so much fun. I also opted for the S over the 4S because A, it was slightly cheaper. B, the 4S is 95% of the time in rear-wheel drive. The only time it's going to go into, put power into those front wheels is when you're in the middle of a turn and you're starting to lose some grip. It'll throw power to the front just to get you through the turn. Otherwise, everything I've read online is like 80-20. 80% of people end up just buying an S because it is a rear-wheel drive car. It is a rear engine car, so all the weight's in the back. Traction isn't really an issue. It handles like a dream. The technology is so advanced in these cars that you really don't need the four-wheel drive system. So, and then also people were saying with the S, it's just more playful. The 4S is maybe more like a scalpel. The S is more, a little more lenient. You're allowed to throw it in the turns a little bit harder and go sideways if you wanted to, that sort of thing. But it has so much technology inside that I don't think that's ever going to be an issue for me. So decided to go with the S. But yeah, so I'm super excited you guys to have this car on the channel. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. Do you like the spec? I know chalk can be kind of a controversial color because, as my friend Kevin would say, it's dull gray. So it doesn't really have that crazy wow factor that you might see in some of these like paint to sample or Miami blue or crazy blue colors or things like that. So curious to know what your thoughts are on the chalk and black 992S. Please let me know in the comments below how you guys feel about it. Are you excited for this? What kind of modifications do you guys want to see on this car? I know there isn't a crazy amount of people that modify these cars. A lot of these Porsche purists like to keep things stock, but that's just not me, and it's ultimately my car, and I'm going to do whatever I want to it. So I've got a couple things in my head that I want to do this thing and make it look cool and make it unique and different and put my styling touches and things like that onto the car. So super excited as the time goes on. Stay tuned. A lot of content coming between this car and obviously the 340i. Got plenty of things to do. I just need this weather to warm up and cooperate and we should be good. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Talk to you guys soon. Take care. See you later.